We got comic books and comics news, comics insights and reviews, comics girls and comics dudes, sipping on some freshly brewed. Cause it's comics and coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way. Comics and coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Comics and Coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way. I am your host, Bobby Shortle, and I'm here with Mara Wood.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mara. How are you?
Doing well, enjoying my vacation. We're in the middle of the beginning process of packing up and getting ready to move. So if I turn this computer around and point it at the floor, you'd see that I'm surrounded by boxes.
It looks like, though, your bookshelves are kind of not in that process yet.
Yeah, I'm actually really dreading packing books because I have 5 or 6 bookshelves of books and graphic novels and omnibuy and stuff like that. And that's just, that's just the worst thing in the world to pack because it's so heavy. And even if you try spreading it around to other boxes, it just makes everything heavy.
It's true. No, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
To pack books, movies, whatever. It's very, very difficult. So what have you been doing this week, Mara?
I have watched Wolf Children 4 times. Okay,
I'm guessing Wolf Children is an anime.
Yes, the best anime movie I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
I talked about it on the Misfits briefly, and I think Stephanie's going to watch it this week too. But it's an anime movie about a woman who falls in love with a man who also happens to be a wolf, like a werewolf kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they have this little happy life, and then she has 2 babies, and then he dies.
Of course.
And so she's left to raise these little kids who randomly turn into puppies and wolves and things like that. And it's the sweetest movie ever. If you watch it and you don't cry, then you're probably a horrible person.
Mara's throwing it down.
Yeah.
Saying this is a fact. If you don't cry at Wolf Children, you're a horrible person.
Exactly.
Well, the other day, Mara, you actually Facebooked me that the All You Need Is Kill manga is available now.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it yet, but I bought it this morning. I'll be definitely checking it out. I saw the movie yesterday afternoon. And I thought it was quite excellent.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I just haven't been able to go out and watch it yet.
I mean, Emily Blunt has a freaking helicopter blade as a sword, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It looks like a Final Fantasy weapon.
I haven't heard anything negative about that movie, but most of the positive things I have heard are about her and her role in that movie.
She's awesome.
That she needs to be in more action flicks, and someone needs to write a superhero role for her or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, she could absolutely play Captain Marvel. Absolutely. And it would be amazing. But, I mean, I feel like that movie has become like the unofficial movie of Talking Comics over the last month or so. So I don't want to talk too much about it. But after seeing it, I really, really enjoyed it. So, I was gonna say, we've been another unofficial thing of Talking Comics. I watched some more World Cup yesterday, and that was very exciting as well. But England lost, so my friend Jackie was very, very upset. She was very, very upset. I went to her house and we watched it. She has like an England flag hanging up, and we bought English beer, and we sat around, but it just didn't end well. Didn't end well for them at all. So we were scouring news this morning, both Mara and I, and we had difficult to find anything that we really were interested too much in talking about. I mean, there's the rumors of the 2019 Batman movie that will be coming out with Ben Affleck. The coolest thing about that news is that the rumor is it will be called The Batman, which would be an amazing, amazing title for a Batman movie.
It's very simple.
Very simple, but that it's a rumor of a rumor. So I don't know how interesting it is to talk about. And I feel like we've been talking about a lot of movie stuff lately. So I was trying to maybe curb that a little bit. So we kind of decided, like, we still wanted to do a show, so we decided maybe we'll just talk about some books that we've been reading this week, and more specifically, we'll end up talking mostly probably about The Wicked and the Divine, the new book from Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. But before we get to that, Mara, what else have you been reading this week?
I have actually, I haven't read a lot of new books other than I read The Velvet Trade, which was great because I've been reading individual issues. And the thing about books like that build upon a story and each issue is another chapter, is that it doesn't seem like you get the full story until you sit down and read an entire arc at once. So it's great to go back and read that. I read Amazing X-Men, and I put a review of the first volume on Talking Comics. And if you haven't checked out Amazing X-Men, you need to, because it's the X-Men in heaven and hell on a pirate ship fighting demons. Yes.
Known for the return of Nightcrawler, obviously. It's what are back. So you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, I had read it as it was coming out as well, and it's one of those where, like, a friend buys the comic and then we use the digital code. So it's nice to test it out that way and then go out and buy the volume. So it's kind of, that's at least what I'm hoping Marvel's going with their free digital codes with their books, is passing it along to friends and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they want to have it.
Yeah, but the main thing I've been reading this week, I don't think we've mentioned it on Misfits yet, because I think we decided the topic after, but our next topic is Neil Gaiman.
Oh, okay.
So I have been reading Sandman. So I started it a long time ago and got about halfway through the series, and then life happened and never finished it, so I'm going back and about to start volume 8 of the series and just going to plow through.
We're still waiting for issue 3 of Overture, right?
Yeah. Somebody, I was talking with a friend about the Sandman series, and it's one of those things you have to sit there and think, like, the writing is good enough that people are willing to wait. And if it takes Neil Gaiman, 2 or 3 months to put out a book, you wait 2 or 3 months for him to put out the next issue. You don't complain about it. You pick it up when it's there.
Oh, really?
Yes, which is why I'm trade waiting. Because I can't stand that kind of schedule. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's a bad schedule for that kind of stuff. Yeah, I have well, we're going to talk about Wicked and Divine, obviously, which is what I've been kind of most obsessed about this week. But I also read Sex Criminals. I believe it's number 6. Issue 6 is what came out.
Yes.
And, there's a line at the end in the actual letters column where Matt Fraction says, "We took away the laughs," or "We took away the funny," and it's true. This issue kind of switches things up quite a bit in the tone of the book. I mean, there's still the ridiculousness, there's still the fourth wall breaking stuff, but the book is much more serious in tone about dealing with the actual kind of psychology of our main characters, especially our male lead. Is the focus of this. I thought it was really excellent and shows just how great Fraction can be and that series can be at playing both sides of the coin. Did you get a chance to read it, Mara?
I got about a third of the way through.
Okay.
It's actually like on my iPad right now. And yeah, I'm definitely picking up on that feel. Like it's still, like you said, it still has that ridiculousness to it, but it's coated in just a little bit, it's darker. They've opened Pandora's box and now they got some trouble. Yeah,
and one of the things, right, is that it plays obviously with an enhanced situation, but it does deal in just kind of general relationship stuff. About their kind of adventure part of their relationship is over, and they've been kind of forced into making it much more sapped of kind of passion, but it's analogous to what happens in real relationships a lot of the time, and I think that's an interesting way to go about it.
I mean, they say word for word the honeymoon phase is over.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah. And the character's dealing with depression because he's being hunted by these people, but that could be anyone dealing with depression and having to go on those meds and all that kind of stuff. So it was a very cool issue, I thought, and a very invigorating ending, I thought, as well, with that character kind of, it's not really a revenge, but kind of a vengeance type of story to it, So I thought that was a very, very cool way to go about it. Anything else you read, Mara?
Read Wonder Woman and the new Red Sonja.
How were those?
Yeah, Wonder Woman and I, we just are. But Red Sonja, she's going off, collecting masters of different arts and things like that for this pharaoh or this king so that he can release these slaves. And the one she's hunting down is the master swordsman. And if you know anything about Red Sonja, she's very prideful and very tough kind of woman, and she's a swordsman. And part of the issue is her, in order to get this master swordsman to come with her to visit this king, she has to beat him in battle. You can imagine how that's going to go.
Right, yeah.
Things aren't too good.
So, Red Sonja going well. You're just on the whole
Wonder Woman.
On the whole Wonder Woman business.
Yeah. I think it's the Finches, aren't they taking over?
That's still, I don't even know if they've officially even announced that or not. That's been like a big rumor for a while, but I don't even know if it's become an officially released thing by DC.
Okay. Yeah, because it's one of the more irritating things that have happened in the Wonder Woman comic book is traditionally she's a goddess now. Or she evolved into a goddess, but goddess of truth. Just kind of being truthful with other people and true to others. And in Azrael's run, he made her the god of war, which is so backwards from 70 plus years of history with the character. So it's frustrating in that sense. But it's a comic book, so I'm going to get over it. I'm not going to let it bring me down.
So digging into what we mentioned at the top of the show, The Wicked and the Divine. Did you get a chance to check it out, Mara, before we hopped on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So The Wicked and the Divine is by Kieran Gillen and Jane McKelvey, known most recently for their run on Young Avengers, and also for a series called Phonogram, I believe, which they've done 3 volumes of. And what Gillen is mostly known for is these kind of bizarre worlds, bizarre twists, bizarre takes on characters. But while being very bizarre, somehow being very, very in tune to modern sensibilities and to pop culture as well. And The Wicked and the Divine follows suit with that, as it is about the idea that gods exist and they return every, I don't remember how many years it is.
It's 90?
90 years to the world as mortals and live out and make their impression upon the world, and then after a certain time, a very young time, they die and they leave the world, and then they come back again. So while the world that we are introduced in The Wicked and the Divine looks familiar to us, it is not our world. It is a world that is a world that is accustomed to this, and it has its detractors, and it's people who believe it's true and people who believe it's not true, and all the things that would occur in our world. But it's very much a tweaked world because there are things that happen, obviously, and situations that arise that are not of our time. But Mara, what did you think of The Wicked and the Divine?
First off, I was really excited when they announced that they were doing this book because I love the way that they did Young Avengers, that kind of snarky and sassy, and that they weren't afraid to show teenagers as they really are. A lot of writers really shy away from anything that has to do with romance and sexuality in teenagers. But McKelvey and Gillen just dive headfirst into it. They know. They probably, I don't know if they have teens as parents or if they just remember their teenage years very, very vividly. But when I heard it was gods reincarnated as teens, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's awesome. Because teenagers, first off, have like no inhibition going on. They just go for it, and mix that with, great power. You're gonna get a really cool story.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, the first issue, yeah, they're setting it up real nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think they did a similar thing when they started off Young Avengers. They didn't really spend a lot of time using exposition to set up where everybody was and who everybody was and what was going on. They kind of threw you into the story and just went. And they do the same thing here, I think, with the Wicked and the Divine. We have a set of characters, and we get this opening scene that kind of alludes to another incarnation of these people, and you get to see kind of what their ending is, and then as we get to this point in the main story, you're seeing kind of what their now is, what how they begin, what their life is like when they're living on Earth, and I love the idea that, and it's an idea that other writers and artists have attacked about kind of these powerful beings being kind of popular culture figures, right? So, these gods end up being, they're not really musicians, but they're almost like pop stars, in
like
a way,
idol.
and like idols, yeah. And these people kind of going to their shows and worshiping them and all this stuff. And I found it very interesting using those dichotomies of kind of fandom and stuff to show worship of these gods, because I think in a lot of ways in modern culture, people kind of attribute the way that people think of celebrities, the way people used to think of, used to deal with religion. These people they would follow and obsess over and, kind of idolize. And I like that he brought that into the fray. But I also like that there is a genuine kind of simple mystery story also underlying the book. That there's that Lucy, who is Lucifer, there's a line, a plot line that follows through with her that when you get to the end of it, opens up the idea of some sort of plot or mystery happening, behind the scenes that's going on. So I liked that a lot about it, because it wasn't just this kind of a funny, bizarre commentary on culture. It was also a cool story as well.
And going back to what you said about they just kind of like throw you into it without giving you any exposition, I love it when stories do that, because I feel like the writer thinks, oh, my readers are smart enough to know how to deal with this or what to piece it together and everything. I think that makes me feel smarter, makes me feel like the creators don't think I'm a dum-dum. So I really appreciate when people do that.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you think of the art, Mara?
Yeah, awesome. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. I think, especially in this series, they're going to have so many different characters, and they all have to look very unique, but still tied in with whatever mythology they're pulling from. And from the 3 gods that we've seen so far, main modern gods, I think McKelvey's done a good job with character design. And, of course, I have to go back and everyone kind of knows Lucifer. It's just this beautiful fallen angel, too pretty to be real kind of character. Mm-hmm. And I think he really captured that in a modern sense with this character. But the other 2 goddesses that they introduce I'm just not familiar with them, so I have to go and look and just see what he's pulled from their mythology into their character design. That's what really stood out to me. I feel like we're pretty familiar with the way he does his artwork, and I think it's those character designs that will really stand out in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, right? The kind of main focus, other than Lucifer, is this I can't say the name. Amaterasu.
Yeah.
Who is the Japanese? It's like a Japanese sun god.
Like a Shinto god or something like that.
Shinto goddess of the sun. And the only reason I know who she is because it's the subject of that game Okami, which was it's a PS2 Wii game where you played as a wolf who would like paint the world.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was like the sun god in the form of the wolf. So that's the only reason I even knew what that name was. And I agree with you. I mean, the character designs are I mean, they're very him. You know, if you look at this and you look at you know, Young Avengers, if you look at the main character of this book, or who seems like it's going to be the main character of this book, that's one of the things about it, right? Is that we get introduced to this this young character who is, you know, obsessing over these gods, and it seems like she's going to be kind of our way into the story, but who knows? Because the way that story ends, I have no idea if it's even going to follow her anymore, or it's going to stick with the gods. But
right.
She looks very much like, you know, Miss America from the Young Avengers series, and that's not a bad thing. I think McKelvey's art is gorgeous and wonderful, and I feel like it feels so alive and so kinetic that it just works so well in this kind of hyper world that Gillen is creating with his writing. I mean, you know, Young Avengers was kind of when its first couple of issues, they had that thing right about the kind of action scenes as music videos, and which were amazing. And I think that this has kind of that same feeling to it. But the funny thing is that, you know, the book is full of style and full of flash. But what's great about them is that they bring the style and the flash, but they also bring, you know, substance to the table as well. Which I think without that, the book would just kind of be a hollow experience.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So we got a couple of reactions to the book on Twitter. This is Smitface on Twitter, and this is he said it was fabulous, one of the most hipster things to hip ever. And Daniel Hurd says it felt very original and genuine. Don't know how else to describe it, but I'm hooked. And I agree, it does feel extremely original, and I think that's one of the things that stands out the most about it, is that there's been a lot of great books, obviously coming out of Image over the last few years, and you know, I think some of the standouts tend to be overall the ones that feel like stories you haven't read before.
Right.
You know, and this definitely is one of those stories. Like, I can't really point. You know, there's like you could kind of point to American Gods a little bit, the Neil Gaiman book, as being something that is reminiscent, you know, of this. You know, the cult, like, kind of like God as pop star thing has occurred before. I mean, in somewhere like in the Anne Rice books, she made like Lestat a rock star in modern day. But I feel like what is totally going on here is something kind of pretty original as far as tone. And setting and look and feel to it. So I feel like that is what's really standing out about The Wicked and the Divine.
Right. Do you know how many issues it's going to be?
On the back of the book, he says it's an ongoing.
Okay.
He says that they have an ending, but that is years away. It's not anything soon.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I didn't get a chance to read the letters page.
Yeah. I read through his kind of letter to people about what the book was going to be, and it's very, very cool. And it's an interesting letter because he speaks about in the back, he says this was the second opportunity time for him to write the letter. He wrote the letter once first, and he said it was very, very depressing and very dark. And so he went through it again and wrote it again, because he says that the book is an attempt to kind of reconcile the most difficult 2 years of his life. And I'm not exactly sure what those 2 years were or what happened, if it was, you know, a crisis with faith, a crisis with maybe facing, you know, illness or something, but that's definitely what it feels like, that it was a way to kind of get through that time. So I'm interested to see if he talks more about that. I mean, he is a very, very, you know, open writer. You know, on his Tumblr, he always does kind of annotated writer's notes about each issue. He did it for Young Avengers, and he's doing it for this as well. So you can check out his Tumblr, Kieran Gillen's Tumblr, for more stuff about that. And I'm not sure if they're doing it for this. I can't imagine they're not. He tends to do like music, like Spotify playlists for each issue of a book that he writes. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's really, really awesome.
I'd be interested in seeing the music for this because I'm hoping he does some international music with it.
Yeah, he has a very eclectic music taste.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever listen to any of the Young Avengers stuff, it's like pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've looked through some of the playlists. I haven't gone through and listened to. It's like, huh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he's not he doesn't have a narrow view of music. Yeah. So yeah, that's the Weekend of the Divine. I'm sure we'll be talking more about it as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really fantastic book, and I can't recommend it enough to anybody who is looking for something a little bit different or something who just wants to read a great comic book, because it really, really is that. I think that's going to do it, though, for our show, Mara.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to do it. We're going to go enjoy our weekends. Any big plans for the weekend?
I've got nothing.
Nothing?
Probably just going to be reading comics, watching Sailor Moon.
Good for you. Good for you. I have to work tomorrow, and then but Sunday I think I'm gonna have a nice chill out day. And then next week I'm gonna go see a show, go see a Broadway show. So
Ooh, what show?
I'm not sure yet. We're gonna kind of play it by ear. We're gonna go in and we're gonna get tickets in the city.
Gotcha.
I was looking at Book of Mormon and Wicked and possibly Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is the new Neil Patrick Harris show, which won the Tony. But Hedwig is sold out, and the other two are incredibly expensive still.
Yeah.
I'm talking like almost $200 a ticket.
Book of Mormon is coming. I think it's coming to Memphis soon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like 92% sure my husband bought tickets for us to go see that.
Nice.
I think.
How far is Memphis from you?
Like 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's not that bad. Just go straight over there.
Straight over there.
Somewhere over there.
Awesome. Well, if you guys want to get in touch with me, it's at Bobby Shortle on Twitter. Mara?
At Megamaramon.
And if you want to get in touch with Talking Comics, at Talking Comics on Twitter, Facebook.com/Talking Comics, and podcast at TalkingComicBooks.com. Thank you guys so much for starting your day out the nerdy way with us, and we will see you next week.
See ya.